Hey everyone, welcome to 10 Talks. I'm Ace. I started modding for Baldur's Gate 3 not too long ago, and like many new modders, I really wish there was a way to get honest insights from people already deep in the scene. That's why I started 10 Talks, the space where I interview successful modders. Today, I'm really excited to bring you part two of my interview with GraphicFade. And with over 10 million downloads, Fade is one of the most respected modders in the community, known especially for his equipment mods and also for some other mods like class mods. And beyond that, he's just a really friendly and nice person. So I'm happy to have the chance to sit down with you again, Fade. Thank you so much for being here and welcome back.
Thank you for having me again.
Of course, it's my pleasure. How are you doing today?
I'm sleepy.
Sleepy. Okay, we'll still
Yeah,
get through this. You'll be doing
got
just
a
fine, I
got
think.
7 hours of sleep, but I'll be fine.
7 hours doesn't sound too bad, to be honest.
Well, I'm old. I need my sleep.
Makes sense. The beauty sleep. Um, I have an easy question to start with.
Sure.
Do you consider modding as art or as doing art when you do it?
Uh, for me, I would say it really depends on what type of mod that you're making. So like dyes, equipment mods, and visual effects are uh, more art oriented in my opinion, and then there's like frameworks or quality of life or like UI mods that don't really require, in my opinion, don't require as much uh, art like as an art form.
Do you feel it's already like artistic in a way in general to like make mods and come up with like creative ideas for new things to add to a game, or is it really just that aspect of like traditional like visual creation that you feel is art in modding?
So creating mods in general is probably an art form just because you have to be creative to come up with the idea and sort of know how to create it because you are creating something, which is a form of art.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but so like when I was stating the dyes, equipment, and visual effects, those are more of a just a visual art,
Hmm.
not a how do I put it? So they're more visual, but less the framework and quality of life are less
Mm-hmm.
visual. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it makes sense. That goes back to what you had mentioned also with the last question that like it like depends on the context, like if it's maybe more like a technical system that you implement or if it's something that is, sparks your creativity where you make new visual assets and stuff like that, that it makes a difference for you.
Right, right.
Yeah. And now talking about like those like more creative outlets, I know last time you mentioned that like one of the mods that like you were really proud of was one where you made visual effects for. What is like the modding journey for you ahead of you? What do you have in mind for it? What type of mods would you like to make? And what things are you interested in at the moment?
So I am going to attempt to make a mod that recolors Scratch. Uh, and I would like to make him as like a husky or a German Shepherd, but I need to learn how to do this first. Other than that, I do have a mod in mind. I just haven't got around to starting it yet. It's more of it's a equipment mod, and I'll start making the items, but then I also want the community to be a part of that mod and helping form it and giving concept ideas for items or just input. Uh, but that's in the future, so.
Sounds like a cool
Um,
idea. Do you have an idea how you're gonna interact with the community for that? Just via comments in your on mod.io or something like that, or do you have a website for it?
I was gonna create a membership thing for on Ko-fi
Mm-hmm.
and just have people because I do take commission work. I don't want to sort of just give my work away for free.
Mm-hmm.
If that so like, all right, I have commissions and that's gonna be a separate thing, but also there's gonna be this membership where people will be able to give their input on a poll, and then also I'll be out of all the members, I'll probably pick one or two people and just be like, hey, let's sit down. We can talk about concepts and work things out. Just sort of like a commission, but you're not paying
Hmm.
for a commission, just a membership. So
That sounds really cool. I first thought when you mentioned that it's more like, just in a comment section, people saying like, oh, like this type of item would be really cool or this, and you would just make a list of it and then see. But like, I think it's a really nice idea to sit down with people and have a talk with them and see, brainstorm even together. That sounds fun.
yeah, so in the commission work that I have done, that's usually my approach is like, all right, what I'll give like sometimes they give me ideas or sometimes I'll give them ideas and
Hmm.
then we'll go from there like what do you think sounds good, visual effects, and so on and so forth.
Hmm. That sounds nice. Um, well, maybe we can go to the next question with that. When you publish mods, do you look out for compatibility between your mods and other popular mods? And if so, how do you do that?
Um, so when I generally create the only thing that comes to mind is like my equipment mods are the mods that I need to look out for as far as compatibility. But just because you can really code anything to be versatile and uh, you don't really need to look for specific compatibility unless they rework a vanilla spell or
Hmm.
uh, like add like meta magic the meta magic extended. Uh, you can add compatibility for that, but I usually don't go out of my way to do stuff like that. Um, the only thing that comes to mind is like my gifts of the absolute mod. I made a couple items compatible for some other mods. For example, the absolute hex item,
Mm-hmm.
it checks if you cast hex, and I got it to work for the vanilla hex, and then there was a rework at the time I created the mod, which was popular, and I included a check in there for the rework, but then the mod got discontinued, so it's sort of like, why did I put in the effort of making the compatibility if the mod's gonna be discontinued? You just
Hmm.
don't really know.
So you would maybe recommend people to just make sure like it's compatible at least with their own mods, their own other mods, and besides that, don't worry about it too much.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on the popularity, I guess. So if there was like a really large rework of vanilla spells or something, then I might include the reworks.
Hmm. I see. And now that we're a little bit also in the yeah, in the process of modding, do you use like specific software, like in terms of like maybe a specific computer, or did you realize working with the toolkit that you needed certain requirements that like helped you mod better, for example?
Um, so both of my computers are Alienware, and pr before the toolkit was even released, uh, I was invited to like a beta test or whatever, and I was I tried to get it set up on my desktop and it just wouldn't work initially. So then I was just like, all right, let me try my laptop, and that worked. So
Mm-hmm.
a good portion, probably, I want to say all of my equipment mods and my framework was created on my laptop, but as of recently, it's been crashing on using the toolkit. So I actually transferred all of my files to my desktop because I got the toolkit to work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I it's sometimes it still crashes, and I don't know if it's PC related or if it's a toolkit. Um, but I would like in a computer.
Yeah, any computer is a nice thing to have. Okay, but like, so you basically you didn't even check out the base requirements for the toolkit. You just installed it and checked if it worked or not when you
No,
started.
I didn't check because both of my Alienware usually is like high end
Yeah,
stuff,
that's
so
true.
I didn't really have to check.
That's good.
But still, I'm like, it's a high end computer. Why is it crashing the
Yeah,
toolkit? But
it's like it's definitely crashing for me also on my new computer still. So
yeah.
that's maybe something to just like save your project regularly because
Uh-huh.
it might
Yeah,
just
I just
crash.
actually go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, no, no, that was all.
Oh, I was just gonna say I just backed up everything just
Hmm.
because if it continues to crash, I want to make sure I have everything backed up.
Did you ever have a crash where like something was like not like something you recently worked on and you forgot to save that and then the program crashed, but like something bigger, so to say, like a mod project of yours that, some files got deleted or something like that with a crash?
Yeah. So like before the 2.0 release of the toolkit, I was working on the visual effects for the Beyond Divine Smite mod, and back then I was still learning how to set up all the visual effects. So I was like in the middle of creating a visual effect and I didn't save for like a whole hour or two.
Oh,
And then it crashed and I lost all of the progress. I was like, oh my God.
wow, that's painful.
Yep.
Yeah. Um, we talked about like now your computer and what you have. Let's go a little bit back again to the mods itself. You release multiple mods for console. There are like some base requirements for console that are published. Do you have any other recommendations what to look out for, or how do you make sure that it's console compatible?
So I initially, when the toolkit came out, I was struggling to transfer my mods from how they were to the toolkit or mod.io.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave up for a while, probably like a month. And then I was like, all right, I see these other people transferring their mods over. I gotta get on it and figure it out. So eventually I figured it out, and it wasn't that difficult.
Hmm.
Um, so initially, I actually had no intention to release them on console and just keep it on Nexus, but everything worked out. So I didn't really look at the the guidelines, to be honest.
Okay. It just works with the equipment mods.
Yep.
Okay, so it's if it's equipment mods, it probably will most of the time also work for other people then. Although
Yeah.
you
So
probably know
like,
what you're doing quite well by now.
yeah. So it's sort of the only thing that I know console has issues with is shaders,
Yeah.
which none of my mods have. So.
All right. One of your mods that you made is a framework for other mods that you use, like especially for the equipment mods, you made that framework as a basis for your other mods. How did you get the idea to do that? And would you also recommend other people to maybe create their own frameworks for their mods?
Uh, this is a lengthy answer, probably. So let's see. when I created the frameworks, I was looking at how to like like there's a mod on Nexus that made it so all the modded items didn't show up in the tutorial chest unless you summoned it. So I wanted to transfer that to mod.io because I have uh, I have those greedy friends that if they open the tutorial chest and there's something in it, they're gonna grab it. So I went ahead and looked into transferring that mod over, and then I was like, oh, well, this is if I do this, I can actually transfer my equipment mods over because during this time my equipment mods were using script extender to be distributed throughout the game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but doing this, it actually made it compatible for console. So I went ahead and did that. And then to your second question or second part of the question, I wouldn't recommend it necessarily, just because it conflicts easily if somebody else does something similar.
Hmm.
Um, for example, on my end, there's ancient megapack randomized loot mod, and there was some overlap, which was creating some compatibility conflicts. Uh, so I went ahead and added their treasure tables to my mod just so there is that compatibility there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but if you if somebody else were to create another framework similar to our mods, then you would have to take into consideration other the other frameworks because they're gonna conflict. So I tried to when I was making this mod, I tried to keep that in mind, and I would eventually like people to start using my equipment distribution mod to distribute their items
Oh
throughout
yeah.
the game. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
So
I might use your equipment distribution. I really like it. I think it's one of the first mods that I used because I'm one of those people that likes to loot the tutorial chest.
yeah, I'm like it's been on mod.io for I think I checked yesterday. It was like 266 days, and it still hasn't been approved for console. And I'm just like, really?
Oh wow. You handed it in like nearly a year ago soon.
Right.
Oh wow, yeah.
So hopefully soon. Larian just has their priorities.
So it's then definitely
So,
not something, consistent based on what was handed in when, but maybe also a little bit of
right.
like the devs' preferences and what they'd like to have themselves.
Well, so from my understanding, it's sort of like they do it based off of what it's tagged as. So like my equipment, Montar equipment, and then there's uh what's it called? Like face mods, uh
Mm-hmm.
cosmetic mods, and then so they do it in sections. So like 1 week might be cosmetics, or 1 week might be equipment, and
Hmm.
sort of like that.
I
So
see. All
that's my
right.
take on it, at least.
That's interesting. Yeah, you do definitely have some more insights. Like I made two housing mods, and one of them did get approved for console, and the other didn't. That's why I also brought up these questions because I find it like still a little bit confusing, like what goes through and that, and how the process works, even after I like try to read everything. So these insights are definitely very appreciated, even if it's just you thinking that it works like that, but already that's more than is out there at the moment.
Yeah, there's really no telling how it works because my Paladin equipment mod was I had it released for over a month and they never pushed it to console, and everybody was getting upset and messaging me, and they're like, "Why aren't you putting it on console?" I'm like, "I have nothing to do with this. This is on
Hmm.
Larian."
Yeah. Um, talking about like community and comments that you got, how did the community influence your modding work and the mods you made?
Um, so initially, I wasn't really making mods for the community. It's more of my personal preference. Um, so as my mod sort of grew, I sort of made the mods more tailored for the community.
Hmm.
Um, and like in regards to comments, I'm I'm usually open to a lot of feedback uh, about balancing, or like some people like yesterday or maybe it was the day before, somebody's like reached out to me on Discord. It's like, hey, there's a bug, and I went ahead and published a fix for that. So I'm like really open to balancing the items to make it more tailored for vanilla gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
um, but yeah,
So you started just making mods basically for yourself or maybe the friends that you play with, and then it over time turned into something where you now maybe also make mods more for what you think the community would appreciate to see.
yep.
And
So like I did try and make it for my friends and I, but my friends, like we beat the game within the first week of it being released, and then I tried to get them back into it, and they just never followed up,
hmm.
even though I was making these mods. So I was just like, sad.
Aw. We can do a modded playthrough if you want to. We use we can find some other modders or something. We make a playthrough with all of our mods together or something.
Yeah, I got like I'm in another Discord server and with another YouTuber, and they're I think we might plan on like a live Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough, but I don't I don't know right now because life.
Are you there?
Huh? Yeah, I
Oh,
am.
you cut off for a second.
Oh, sorry.
No problem.
I was saying we were gonna do a live YouTube playthrough of Baldur's Gate,
Hmm.
but they're going through some life changes right now, and so am I.
Hmm.
So maybe in due time.
Well, I do have some time, so let me know if you ever wanna make a playthrough with your mods and you need someone to play with. I'm up for it. If it's not live, just two people or
Yeah.
whatever. But back to the questions. Have you ever considered like making like maybe like live playthroughs? Have you ever considered making tutorials or guides based on your experience?
So like I've made tutorials before, just not for Baldur's Gate. Back when I was doing World of Warcraft stuff, I made some tutorials, and I like my line of work in real life. I teach people, or I have taught people and trained them, and I that's sort of like something I really enjoy doing.
Hmm.
But as far as making tutorials for Baldur's Gate, I don't think I would do it at this time just because it's time consuming and it takes a lot of mental energy because you have to like create the video, make sure you cover everything in the video, then edit it, and then make sure you answer all of the people's questions and comments, and it's just a lot.
Hmm. Makes sense. Well, I mean, we already enjoy your mods, so I think everyone should be happy that we get your mods. And if we don't get tutorials, at least we have the mods that we can enjoy.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean they have tutorials like Gary's.
yeah, I do make, yeah, I felt definitely that there's a lack of tutorials. And that's why I wanted to make some, at least on the little things that I know to help out people when they get started with it. So hopefully this helps. Um, what is a typical day for you like when you mod?
So I usually try and wake up like super early, uh, like 6 a.m. give or take, and then I'll like have a coffee just to get going, and I will like mod for 7 to 10 hours. It's not straight. I'll have breaks in between, but like uh but so like I'll have an energy drink during that day just to like keep me going. I used to actually mod for a lot longer when I had more free time, like probably 12 to 14 hours in a
Mm.
day. And usually by the around the like end of the day, probably at the 10-hour mark, your brain starts to like give out.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, I'm coding and nothing's coming to me and I don't know what to do.
Forget the commands.
Right.
Yeah. And so
Just
I
stare at the screen and like blank faced.
so you learned the lesson to sleep.
Yes. I always need my sleep.
Yeah. And is it like, do you wake up early just because you want like a long time period that you can then mod in like your free days, or do you just wake up early in general? And so for modding, you just stick to the normal rhythm, or how is that for you?
It really depends. So my work schedule is crazy. So I can be up in the middle of the night or like I can be up at any time of the day, just because of work. So some back when I was uh doing a lot of the mods, sometimes I'd wake up at like 3 a.m. or 2 a.m. and
Hmm.
then I couldn't go back to sleep, so I just mod.
Yeah,
So
that's it's definitely something that you can do whenever you want. Like you can just like it's a nice private hobby, so to say. You can just
yeah,
like
it's
watch
relaxing
something.
too.
Yeah, for sure. What is like the aspect that you enjoy most about making mods?
Um, Probably like the I'd probably say like I enjoy the comments that people like give me,
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, your mod is great, and oh, or like, oh, it's balanced like a vanilla item. Like that's how it's intended to be, and I really like hearing that from people. Um, and when I don't hit those marks, it's sort of like, well, damn, let me go back and make some adjustments. But
Mm-hmm.
most of the time, I don't. I feel like I hit the mark most of the time. Some of it is a little overtuned, but I think I overtune it a little bit because I feel like most people by now have finished the campaign, and they're playing on like tactical or tactician, whatever it is,
Mm.
or honor mode, or like nightmare with the modded difficulties. So
So the comments, like the positive, encouraging comments, is it like the encouragement that comes from it that like is satisfying for you to see, or is it like that that like you enrich people's game time? Which aspect of it is it for you that makes the difference?
probably both.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that I have made mods that impact people's gameplay that like in a major way is satisfying to me.
Hmm. That makes sense. I think we can like slowly get towards like the last questions. I'll just have a look about my notes for a second. Something that I would still like to ask you is if the success of your mods ever had made you feel trapped in. You already mentioned that you like to also create mods for the community and that there may be certain expectations and you really appreciate like the comments that people leave and stuff. So how is it like does it put pressure on you in any way, or do you feel like you're seen in a certain light that you should like do a certain type of mod, for example?
Um, yeah, so like I wouldn't say I feel trapped. is sort of like a burden of success. Your mods become so popular that everybody expects you to meet high standards,
Mm-hmm.
and that can be stressful at times. Especially when I'm creating a new mod, I'm just like, I gotta triple check it to make sure that everything is balanced and it works correctly. I can't release a half-assed mod like just because I'm tired. I gotta like make sure that it's polished because that's what everybody expects of me, I feel like.
Mm.
And then in a way, I feel like the community like typecast me sort of. So like I'm not known for my equipment mods mostly, and the other mods I feel like are overlooked. So I feel like everybody just uh, references my name as like, oh, that's an equipment guy or something like that. So like I don't mind that because I really enjoy making equipment. But uh, some of my other mods, like my most recent mod, the sorcerer subclass, I don't feel like it was received in the way that I expected it to be. Just because I don't know if it was like I released it during a time of people not really playing that much, or people are just expecting me to like make equipment mods, and
Mm.
that that's it. So received a lot less downloads than I expected, and maybe I was just expecting more because of my name sort of brings that popularity with it. But
Mm. Did it like receive way less also compared to similar other mods? Like, do you feel that like maybe mod creators that create more class mods um, would have gotten more views with the same or more downloads with the same mod? Or is it maybe just that,
I
I don't know,
actually
equipment mods are more popular in general?
I actually didn't compare notes on. I didn't compare it against other subclass or class mods. Uh, I do, if I can recall, there was a Demon Slayer mod that was released shortly after mine, and it received like 4 times as
Mm.
many downloads. So I'm just like, okay.
Well, I'll definitely link your subclass mod in the video description so people can check it out. Is there any other mod that you feel like of your mods that should get a little bit more attention than it has gotten? Now is the time to change your image. New fade.
Uh, I feel like everything else has hit off pretty well. Um, yeah, so like I was saying, it might have just been the time that I released the mod, because uh, when I think back on it, when I released equipment mods, it'd have 1,000 downloads within the first 12 hours. Whereas I haven't even hit 1,000 downloads, and this mod's been out for over a week. So, but all of my other mods, I feel like have done fine. So,
Hmm. Something that now comes to my mind again, what I wanted to ask you also when we talked about the last question is, would you also recommend other, like, let's say, newer modders to put the same high standards that you put yourself because you're, so to say, famous in the field? Um, would you put like this, would you recommend other people to put like that standard to themselves, or would you just maybe recommend to like release the mod when they feel like it's good and just see how it goes? What would be your recommendation?
honestly, I'd probably like just make sure that you feel like the mod is ready and polished. Don't what I feel like has been happening is like a lot of people will release a mod that's incomplete, or it just doesn't feel polished. So that would be my only feedback, is to make sure that you feel like your mod is ready, make sure it's all polished, and uh, put some time into like creating the creating the description so it looks nice, not just a wall of text. So that really changes the appeal of the mod, in my opinion.
All right, that sounds good. Thank you for the recommendation. Yeah, and so we would get to the final outro question. In your own modding or in your own gaming, not modding this time, which mods do you like to use? Do you have any favorites that are maybe that were game changing for yourself, so to say?
The mods that I always look forward to is, I don't know, I'm gonna butcher this name probably, but Sumra, the person that makes all the 5e uh,
Mm-hmm.
subclass mods.
Yeah, I can
I'm sure
also
it's
just
well
link
known by
them.
everybody.
Yeah, and if not, I'll just link it and they can check it out.
But other than that, I have like at least 400 mods in my load order, and I initially had 600, but my friend was like, "You need to reduce it because their computer was struggling with how many mods." So I put reduced it to 400, and apparently I still need to reduce it just because their computer still struggles. But I can like send you a link to the mods, like a load order images of my mods if you
Sure.
want.
Yeah, and I think that is like all from my side. Do you want to think that this is probably our final interview? I would think. Do you want to add anything to this, to our last two interviews that you feel we should still talk about, or that you would like to mention, or give others on their way?
Um, Not much I can think of right now. Probably the sleepiness. Um, I just want to like throw out there that there's that like not this isn't really, I guess, uh, good feedback, but there's like people out there that steal or not steal, but like copyright use copyright shit. So, like for example, me and I want to say like 10 other mod authors have we're dealing with a individual that was stealing our mods and reworking it without like our consent. And I feel like people should at least take the time to ask to use uh, our mods if you want to
Hmm.
make a mod pack or something, because that's just showing respect to us. And if you also like if you use a mod pack and that's if somebody uses a mod pack, it takes away downloads for our mods. So, for example, Nexus pays us the they'll pay us I don't know a set amount each month because we bring in X amount of downloads. But if this mod pack is taking away the downloads, we're getting paid less.
Hmm.
So it's sort of like at least be considerate,
Yeah.
please.
So what the players can do if they want to support you or other authors is always download the mods from the original source. And
Yeah, I mean, and there's like Nexus has the collections, I think
yeah.
it's called. Um, so like that will actually you can like make a mod pack with the collections on Nexus, and that will download directly from our mod page. So we still get the download, and they can still have the mod pack that they want to create.
Hmm.
So it's a win-win, but some people don't want to use that for
Or
whatever reason.
they want to get the money that otherwise you guys would get paid from Nexus for themselves,
Right.
would be my guess. So
But that's
I'm
just
sorry to
my
hear that you guys went through that. Um,
it's all right. I mean, that's just my 2 cents that I wanted to throw out there before. Like, just be considerate if you want to modify another mod author's work or use it in a mod pack. Just ask and be considerate because
hmm.
we put our personal time into it, and I feel like they should be respectful of it.
Perfect. Thank you for that. I think that's a nice and important note to also end this interview on. Um, if you, as a visitor of this page, enjoyed the conversation that Fade and I just had, maybe leave a like or a comment. Check out Fade's mods. I'll link them in the description. And if you have any questions that you'd like me to ask in future interviews or any modders you would like me to reach out to, let me know. Thanks for watching and see you next time.